Hello, hey everyone. If you are new here, welcome to The Naked Truth. This is a space where we have real, honest conversations about mental health, mindfulness, and manifestation. You'll hear from myself and other brave souls as we open up about our journeys and share strategies to manage stress, build resilience, and bring our dreams to life. Hopefully, you'll feel a little less alone after listening. I am your host, Lauren, a 27-year-old professional living in DC, passionate about creating spaces for open conversations and building genuine community. And I am so glad you're here. In this episode, we will dive deep into the critical topics of burnout and resilience with one of the leading voices in the field, Michelle E. Dickinson. Michelle is a widely recognized thought leader in mental health advocacy, a best-selling author, a well-known TED speaker, and a trailblazer in workplace resilience. She's taught over 15,000 people across education, Fortune 500s, and healthcare how to actually deal with burnout, not just talk about it. Michelle gives people real tools that they can use immediately, whether at work, at home, anywhere. Her clients see real results fast, with 30% less stress within 3 sessions and 50 to 70% reduction after completing her program. Michelle shows people exactly how to handle tough situations without getting overwhelmed, build daily habits that actually stick, turn stress into something manageable, and take charge of their own well-being. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here with you, Lauren.
I am very excited for our discussion today. Okay, so what I like to do at the beginning of every episode is ask my guests what is their high and low of the past week.
So you know what my low is. We'll start with that. My low is that my poor baby corgi is currently in surgery right now for a ruptured disc. That's my low, my munchkin. My high is going to be related to that, in that I was able to handle it and he's getting the care he needs.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that. And here's to us hoping that the surgery goes really well, which is currently happening.
Yes.
Okay, so let's dive into it. Why are you so passionate about working in burnout prevention and resilience?
So this is a really great question, and one that is rooted in my backstory. I know, like you, I've done a lot of self-discovery work, right? That's how we unpack the stuff that shaped us as little ones. So my backstory is I grew up with a mother who had bipolar disorder. And I equated that to riding a roller coaster because there were a lot of emotions involved. Anybody who loves someone with a mental illness, especially bipolar disorder, understands there's a variety of moods that you have to navigate. So, growing up with my mom played a big role in how I grew up, how I, became an adult. It shaped me. And so that experience was pivotal because I think for me, I was really proud that I was able to emerge and become a contributing member to society and not be negatively impacted significantly by her illness. She was in and out of hospitals, emotionally unavailable, the whole thing. But for me, I used that as leverage and got myself a really great job, worked corporate career for about 19 years. But before I did leave the corporate world, I was invited to give a TED talk on a private TEDx stage that told the story of my mom who had bipolar disorder. At the time, I was working for a company that was very passionate about mental health in the workplace. I was one of the leading members of a employee resource group called the Mental Health Diplomats, and we were on a mission to eradicate stigma within our workplace by talking about it. So, like, you got to go first. So I gave the TED talk about my mom, and that really had an amazing response to it, which led me to write my memoir, Breaking Into My Life. And that helped me see that I wanted to be a greater contributor around the mental health space. So I became an advocate, started doing some public speaking, started to really help open up a conversation around mental illness. And then for me, I always wondered Why are we talking about mental illness on the other side? Why are we not talking about it from a prevention side? And so, as like the perfect storm would happen, I found out my position was eliminated in my company the same exact week I finalized my divorce. And so, for the first time ever in my life, I was diagnosed with depression. So,
Well,
then I had to figure it out, right? Like looking at mental illness as something over there someone else is dealing with is very different than I can't get out of bed in the morning? So
mhm.
I wound up getting clinical therapy, really getting committed to understanding my own experience that I was having. My therapist didn't want to give me medicine, so he said, "You got to find some healthy vices." I found some healthy vices. I trained for my first triathlon. I started to find things to help me stay above the line. And again, that question, why are we not talking about the prevention of mental illness? Why are we not talking about those little things we could be doing every single day to help us be able to handle these blows in life that are going to come? And so that's what led me to say, I want to talk more preventatively. I want to create something special. And that was when Resilience as a Lifestyle was born in an effort to help people understand they have agency. They can do things for themselves before they hit burnout.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's a lot to deal with at once.
Yeah.
And I understand that it hits different when you're looking at it from a distance versus when it affects you. And I think that when it affects you, because I've also been diagnosed with depression previously in the past,
Mhm.
it's so different but it allows you with that firsthand experience to then, if you're going to specialize in something around like mental health advocacy, resilience, burnout prevention, you have that firsthand experience. It's almost like a resume builder that's like not on your actual written resume. And
Yeah.
then you can take that and make something beautiful and strong and impactful with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I feel like the last chapter of my book, Breaking Into My Life, I talk, it's basically, and all that happened, and look at how it shaped me and served me. But we can't see how adversity serves us until we get through it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So when did you write that first book?
So I have one book, only one book, and I wrote it and released it in
Oh, okay.
20, I want to say 2018. So it's been out quite a while, and it really just is a memoir of my experience, basically expanding on my TED talk about what it's like to go through different phases of your life and navigate a mom that's there, not there, mean, loving, the whole emotional range of someone with bipolar disorder.
That's very interesting. And now, among your many titles, you describe yourself as a resilience coach. Can you break down what that actually means and what working with you looks like?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I really sit down and think about what I do, I'm not really coaching. I'm actually training. It's more of a personalized training program. And what we do is we look at we take a look at how people are feeling. Most people that come to me have very low energy and very high stress, right? That's
Mm.
the recipe for I'm headed toward burnout. But what we look at is what their day to day practices are, what their habits are, combined with how they are looking at adversity and stress. Because we are what we repeatedly think and we are what we repeatedly do. So we're
Mhm.
really unpacking that. Okay, so your energy is low, your stress is high. What are the things that you know that you can be doing for yourself to get that energy where you know it could be and to manage your stress? We know stress is coming every day. The only thing we have the ability to do is prepare for it so it doesn't devour us.
Very interesting.
Mhm.
And how would you say resilience protects our mental health?
Yeah, I think, when we are resilient, when we are reminded that we have the agency ourselves to do things for ourselves and fill our own cup and be more balanced coming at stress, it affords us to ebb and flow with whatever is coming our way, right? Like, my business partner and I were talking about my dog, right? For example, I always said like I would be a fraud if I wasn't living this stuff. I live this stuff. And so yesterday at the emergency hospital, is a perfect example of maybe an earlier iteration of me just losing it, just consumed in emotion about what was about to happen. Instead, I was able to take a step back and be completely regulated, making sound decisions calmly, not allowing my emotion to override anything. And I attribute that to the fact that I stay in the work. I do things to help calm my mind on a regular basis. I take care of my physical body. I'm connected to people who I know love and adore me, and I love them. So I'm nourishing myself regularly so I'm prepared to handle these things that I didn't ask for, but I can handle them with a lot more ease, and I'm not depleted or taken down when they occur.
That's really cool. That's really cool to realize the effects and the results of your own personal work.
Girl, yesterday was rough. And, I think the moment I really did break down was when I had to leave him. But at that point, I was so proud because all the decisions were made, everything that had to happen happened. And then I can just feel those emotions and the fact that he wasn't coming home with me, that he had to stay at the hospital, right? So then I also gave
Mhm.
myself the grace and the permission to lose it driving home and just cry my eyes out,
Yeah.
right? Like it's okay. But when we are overcome by emotion, it's oftentimes because of the fact that we don't have things in place where we can regulate ourselves in those instances. We are just at the effects of life. So many people come to me at the effects of their life and they forget
Mm.
that like they have 100%, only 100% control over themselves, not over the external world. So that's something that they can master and really focus on.
Yeah, interesting. And yeah, I do think giving yourself permission to feel those emotions and like break down and actually cry is super important
Yeah,
because you're processing, you're expressing the emotions healthily, and like that's how you process.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So while you talk about some of the ways that you build resilience on a daily basis, can you tell us some of the simple ways we can strengthen our resilience on a daily basis?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And I'm grateful for you inviting me on because of your audience, because of the fast-paced technology world we live in and how addicted we can become to technology. Um, you know, there's a myriad of things. I've worked with people from all walks of life, all functions in terms of their careers, but age demographics. And a lot of times we are so addicted to this phone, and because it's giving us a dopamine hit, it's hard to step away from that. So, like,
Mm.
some of the simple things you can be doing is like making sure you're creating some distance from that at some point, whether it's like in the evening, leaving your phone outside of your bedroom, whatever, like recognizing you are so connected to that dopamine hit and thinking about where else could I get a dopamine hit if it's not through my phone. Is it a run outside? Is it getting to the gym and doing the yoga class? Like you're going to get just redirect where you get the dopamine. It doesn't only have to be on this phone. This is what's convenient to us, but there are other ways that you can think about, okay, how do I give myself that reward? Is it sticking to my word? I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do this today. And then at the end of the day, going, wow, I actually did that. That feels really good. Um,
Mhm.
so that's like one of the things, because I do think that as connected as we are, we're so disconnected, right? So thinking about
Yes.
just becoming aware, awareness, the gold is in the awareness. How often am I on this thing? And then the other thing, most people that come to me initially are, they don't have any structure at all, right? So what they do is they hit snooze when they wake up in the morning and immediately they're running late. So it's like a high cortisol morning, right? And so we know the domino effect that occurs from that. So I always say, like, start your day off with a little bit of of peace and calm and fill your cup and give yourself a chance to have one good day at a time. So I'm not saying you need to do like the Tony Robbins or like the whatever's like our priming system. I'm saying just take 15 minutes for yourself every morning before you go into your work day and fill your cup with whatever that looks like. Is it prayer? Is it meditation? Is it reading something that deeply inspires you? Is it just sitting quietly with a cup of coffee? Whatever it is, just do a little bit of that before you get into the day and you help everybody else.
That is so funny that you bring that up because I'm a snoozer of my alarm.
Yeah.
And while I like to think, and I am disciplined, there are aspects where I'm not disciplined or not as disciplined as I would like to be in my life.
Mhm.
And one of my big goals for this year is to stop snoozing my alarm
Mhm.
and get up on time so I'm not rushed and super stressed in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about it. It's like the analogy you stub your toe, you have a bad day. Why don't you fill your cup and maybe create a better day, you know?
Yes, and I do make sure to have a morning routine
Great.
before I log online. So it used to be before I start my 9 to 5 corporate job. Now it's before I log online and do whatever it is for my podcast and business.
Mhm.
So, like this morning, for example, I took 5 deep breaths. And sometimes it's meditating, but I usually don't get to that until the afternoon
Mhm.
nowadays.
Mhm.
And then it can also look like journaling. So this morning I journaled my wins from yesterday and my accomplishments to like allow myself to feel accomplished and get started on a high note.
Yeah.
And then I made myself breakfast and allowed myself to eat that before logging online. Now that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm eating and checking email.
Yeah.
And I notice that like my stress levels are higher.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm working on. But another thing that I like as a part of my morning routine is morning sunlight. So whether that's literally going out onto my rooftop and staring up at the sky for like 2 to 5 minutes, or going down my elevator around the block for a walk
Yeah.
in the morning, just to expose myself and kind of regulate my circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
I like doing that.
Love it. It's awesome. I love it. Yeah, and like, and it doesn't take a lot of time. You said 5 minutes for the sun. Like, oh, sometimes we make things such bigger things in our head. It doesn't have to be that time consuming.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what do you like to do in your morning routine?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that. Again, I'd be a fraud if I wasn't doing the very thing I explain to people to do. So I have this little routine where I take my dogs out and then I come back and I have these little candles on my dining room table that have this little butterfly. I don't know, it's kind of like an orb around it. So when you light the candle, the little butterfly thing spins. So I light
Oh,
these two little candles. I make a cup of coffee and I will do three things I'm grateful for in my gratitude journal. And then I'll go right into a short meditation, which is like, could be like anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes. That's it.
wow. And do you use an app in your meditation?
I do. So for the gratitude, I use the 5 minute journal app, which is like, it's got to be so easy. I can't not do it. So that's why I do that. It's 5 minute journal app. It prompts you, what are three things you're grateful for? And then the meditation, I will use Insight Timer. But my favorite meditation teacher also has free meditations on YouTube, and her name is Sarah Blondin. She's wonderful. She's from Canada, but her voice is so soothing and relaxing, and her messages are very uplifting.
Oh, that's cool. That's the first time I've heard of her. I'll have to check her out.
Check her out for sure.
And the 5 minute journal, I've heard about that,
Mhm.
but I don't have the app yet.
Okay, there you go. And there is something so powerful, and I talk to people about this all the time about redirecting your focus to the good. Like, I like that you said you journaled and you were highlighting your wins. There is something really powerful about redirecting your focus to the good stuff than allowing your brain to be on autopilot to think about all the things that you're worrying about. So give yourself a break
Yeah.
from that and focus on the good stuff, because it's going to set yourself up to like have a good day.
Yes, I agree. Gratitude as well does that. And I do my gratitude practice or list out or talk about 3 things that I'm grateful for at the end of the day as a part of my night routine.
Nice. I love it.
And when going back a little bit previously when you're talking about actually training people, like putting together a personal training program for each individual. That reminded me of personal training, like at the gym.
Yes.
Do your programs include physical workouts for people as well, or no?
Yeah, so it's interesting. What we do is we have a very comprehensive resilience audit that we run people through on the first in the first session that gives us insight into why their energy might be low or why their stress levels are extraordinarily high. And
Mhm.
so we do this audit as an opportunity for them to take a step back and really reflect on how they're going about their day and how they view stress and adversity. And from there, they're the ones that are saying, oh, wow, like I have no energy. Well, I haven't worked out in 6 months. Okay, what do you want to do differently? So we're not prescribing anything in our practice at all. What we're really doing is holding up a mirror and getting people to realize that if they want to have better energy and they want to manage their stress and they want to feel super empowered, there are things they know to do that they just haven't been. And then we get them back on track and support them in that journey.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and from your experience coaching professionals, what are the most common challenges today, especially among young professionals?
Yeah. Goodness, there's so many like little things. I feel like, something went sideways. I've had a number of young people come to me and say, I just don't know how to adult, which I find interesting, right? Like,
Clearly.
goodness, like I find that so interesting. Like somebody dropped the ball on them. Like, like I don't know how to adult. That's a huge thing to feel like you are behind the eight ball and you're not really quite sure how to succeed. And that's got to be a scary
Mhm.
place, right? So I think, it's really understanding how your day to day practices influence your overall well being and your capacity to realize your success. So it's taking a hard look at what what do you know, what don't you know? Because I feel like the moment I had really honest, authentic conversations with the folks who have said that to me, it's something as simple as eating protein in the morning and not expecting your body to function until 1 o'clock on nothing.
Mm,
It's having structures in your life where you create time for yourself, right? Like we live in this grind and hustle society that praises us for working ourselves to the bone, but like it's in the downtime that we catch our breath. We can take a step
mhm,
back and look at, okay, what's working, what's not working, or what do I like, or what is exciting to me in the job that I'm doing, or is there anything, right? We can't objectively do that if we just stay on the hamster wheel. So it's also creating that downtime. We need to have that downtime, but we also, it needs to be more than Netflix and hanging out, right? It has to be like, what am I going to do for myself? Like, what is the thing that I'm going to be able to open up my ears to what I want? In a very noisy world, you have to be the one to say, this is what I know I want, or this isn't working for me. But if we're running too fast, we never slow down and realize that.
yeah. So kind of like reframing relaxation and personal care time as productive.
Well, yeah, as a necessary, right? Like, you know, you think about these Olympians, an Olympic athlete wouldn't, and I like to equate that to like the corporate athlete or the professional athlete, right? Like they wouldn't do a race. They wouldn't run a race at the Olympics and turn around and run another race. They would need that recovery time. Like we need the recovery time to be able to come back and like show up and be proud of how we're showing up and do the work that we want. And the creativity piece. A lot of people are creators. So if you're a creative in a job, think about this. How can you be creative if you're depleted? You lose.
Exactly. You can't.
Yeah, you lose it. You totally lose it. Like why are you going to shoot yourself in the foot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good points.
Yeah.
Very good points. Are there any other big challenges you see common among your clients in addition to I don't know how to adult?
Yeah, I think, a lot of people are not realizing that they have the ability to do things for themselves to process stress, right? In my experience, a lot of people are sitting around waiting for their circumstances to be different and the stress to ease up on them instead of saying, maybe I should find some stress mitigating practices so that I'm prepared because I have no control over the amount of stress coming my way. It's going to either come and I'm going to be ready for it, or it's going to come and I'm not. Right. So I use the example of most educators that I coach. They're sitting around waiting for the teacher's aide that's going to help them in the classroom, next year's curriculum to be different, you know, summer to come. They're waiting. They're constantly in this perpetual state of waiting for those external circumstances to be different than they are in order for them to do things for themselves or just feel different, feel better. Like, why are you going to wait for external things to change? Like, you can say like, hey, I'm putting some practices in place. I'm going to be ready to handle that stuff that I have no control over. So stop waiting for the external world to change. Take care of what you have 100% control over, and that's you.
Yeah, very good point. Okay, so many professionals in DC, because a lot of my audience lives in the DMV and specifically in the DC area, they work long hours and have demanding jobs. What are some realistic ways that they can prevent burnout even in high stress environments?
Yeah, it all comes down to focusing on what you do every day for yourself and what you're doing in terms of like how you're thinking about what's coming. Okay. So let me explain that to you. So when I say how you're taking care of yourself, like I really mean like not letting yourself get to the point of exhaustion before you go and do something for you. It's the constant filling of the cup on a regular basis that's going to help you avoid burning out. Even if it's as little as like 20 minutes a day. Like I literally have said to people, what time do you finish work? What time do you go to bed? Okay, so how many hours are between finish work, go to bed?
Mhm.
Right? And so when you break it down like that, well, why couldn't you carve 30 to 45 to an hour just for you to do whatever? And I don't mean sit on the couch and watch TV, although in some cases that's good because if it's, mindless entertainment, great. If it's the news, that's a different story. But I would say like what could you be doing for yourself to be filling that cup so you don't hit burnout? And we have this wrestling relationship with time and we also have an either or mentality. I want to invite people to consider, okay, so you still have some work you have to do. Okay, but that doesn't mean, you forego time for yourself. Why can't you figure out a creative solution where I'm going to give it an hour of my time for work and then take an hour for me? Like move
Mhm.
away from it's either work or me. It should be I got to put the oxygen mask on myself so I can show up and really show out and have people see what I'm capable of doing. I can't do that if I'm depleted. So like get the impact. If you're married, if you have a partner, get the impact on how pleasant you are or not to be around when you're depleted. Like think about that impact, right? You want to compromise those valuable and precious relationships. You don't want to do that. So get the impact of not doing something small for yourself every day. And then how you're looking at adversity. I ask this question of all of my clients. It's do you believe that life is happening to you or do you believe life is happening for you? Because if you are the one that believes life is happening to you, it's real easy to slip into that victim mentality and be resigned, right?
Mhm.
Versus life is happening for me. And even though my poor baby is going through surgery, there's a greater lesson that's going to be there for me. And if I could stay curious as to what is this supposed to teach me, then I am less likely to wear the victim coat.
Very interesting. I have been toying around with that in my life because I've realized in the past I have played the victim and had some sort of victim mentality. And as I have been reflecting on and doing a lot of like work in therapy and personal development over the past few years, I am realizing, okay, it's happening for me. What is the lesson that I can learn from this? So if a romantic relationship ends and let's say I get broken up with, instead of wallowing and being like, woe is me, like, why did this happen to me? I reflect now on what did I learn from each relationship
Yeah.
and how does that teach me about myself and what do I take away like the lessons learned moving forward into the next relationship. And it's very interesting like exercise to do.
It is. It's not easy. It's very much easy to take the, woe is me road, but there's no power there, and you miss opportunities to really become curious about why was this here on time. I feel like everything in our life happens on time. There's always a greater lesson or something to be learned that's only going to serve us, but you have to question if you believe that, if you think that way. If you're not thinking that way, that could color and skew any adversity that comes your way, right?
Mm,
Like, think about we are how we think. So if you are looking at
yeah.
everything that comes at you sideways that you didn't plan for as, holy crap, look at this, is happening to me, that is a very hard thing to overcome every day. And your lens is now completely blurred. And it's going to be much easier for you to slip into, burnout and depression.
Yes, and that actually brings up something for me. Do you have any advice for people who think the worst things happen to them and compound? Like, for example, if I say, of course this happens to me. So let's say it could be something as simple as like I parked in a parking lot and this car like pulled right up like and parked crooked like right next to me, to that same day later on me starting to feel a sore throat and getting sick, and it's like of course, because why not?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you say it in jest, I mean, the awareness is the first step. The awareness that you do that is the first step, right? Like, it's very easy. The mind wants to collect evidence that you are the victim, right? So I always remind people of this, and you have to think about it so that you can start to manage it. The mind isn't wired to make you happy, the mind is wired to protect you.
Mm,
Okay,
mhm.
so you have to do the work to shift it to the space that's going to make you happy, which is the gratitude practice, which is like, stop saying the thing like, of course this happened to me. Like, no, no, your mind is doing its job. It's trying to protect you, right? Looking for everything that where you're the victim, or everything that can go wrong, or all the things you should feel like crap about. We have
Mhm.
to hack this thing called our brain and redirect our focus, because wherever we focus our attention on will always expand. So if you
Mhm.
wallow in that and you go, oh, of course I'm getting a sore throat, of course. And the thing that happened in the parking lot, and then this happened and this happened, your mind is immediately on a goose chase to collect as much data as possible as to why you are SOL.
Yes.
So
Wow, yeah, you're so right, and it's not easy. It's not easy doing the work to like focus on the positive, to rewire your brain to have that positive thinking process.
yeah, but it's more than willpower. This is where I am a believer that gratitude will help us rewire our thinking. Because if you start forcing yourself every day to look for three things you're grateful for, you start
Mhm.
training your mind that we look for the good. We look for the good. So when things do go sideways, you might be less likely to look at it as the victim. You might be like, oh, okay, because you've gotten your head straight and you've started to think about good things at some point in the day. It's a little bit easier for you to look at the incident as half full versus half empty.
Yes, and oftentimes when I do the 3 things I'm grateful for at night, and this is either, like, me by myself in my bed thinking about it or saying it out loud, and sometimes I talk to the universe and, like, look up, and last night, it often goes more than 3. Last night, I think I said 6 things that I was grateful for.
That's great. That's so great. And consider doing a rampage of appreciation. This is a powerful tool that I learned from the book Ask and It's Given, where they explain just go on a rampage and think about every single thing you could possibly think of that you're grateful for, and then reflect on how you feel after you've done the rampage. You don't have to write it down. You can just go in your head. Okay, this. I'm grateful for that, and just keep snowballing. And you are going to fill yourself up with such good feelings because you're so present to all the love and all the abundance that you do have in your life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Noted. I will try that.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the burnout at work. So we talked a little bit about preventing burnout in a high stress environment,
Mhm.
but for those already experiencing burnout, what's the first thing that they should do to recover and regain their energy?
So I love the work that we're doing because it is non-clinical. I think that that's the key. I want people to really get that. It's a very innovative approach to resilience. Most traditional resilience is rooted in clinical or some other philosophy or some coaching program. Our resilience training is non-clinical for a very specific reason. We're not looking and unpacking your backstory. We're specifically looking at energy, stress, and empowerment, right? So if people are feeling like they are either experiencing burnout or they're quickly heading toward that doorway and they want to recover and regain their energy, and that's the first key, right? Where we lose passion for the things we once loved, where we don't
Mhm,
have the energy to do the things that we love to go do that would help us recharge. So there's a couple things. You have to look at the things that give you energy. What gives you energy? Right? So the fundamentals often are off kilter, which is sleep, which is a good diet, which is hydration, which is connection with people you love, movement. When we move our bodies, like that's incredible for relieving stress. But people don't realize that. Short meditation to clear the noise. How many times are we going to bed at night and we're finding that we have a three-ring circus in our mind of thought that will not subside? Guilty.
mhm,
Totally going to own it. Guilty. I've had this happen to me, and I say to myself, Michelle, it's because you didn't meditate. Meditation has the power to like ring out all the noise in your head to give you a chance to have a good night's sleep. It's so powerful in helping us relieve stress. So I would say get back to basics, getting your sleep in, making sure you have some stress mitigating tools, whether it is movement or meditation. You need those things. Um, don't grind it through. That's the one caution I say. People go, I'm just going to grind it out. I'm going to make, no, you're going to exacerbate it. So, like, really stop, take a step back, understand how much noise you're getting too from the external world, because that can clutter up our brains, and just say, like, what do I know to do that's going to make me feel better? And when was the last time I did it? And let's make that happen.
mhm. Yes, very powerful. For the meditation piece,
Yeah.
what is your advice for those who either have tried it and think it's not for them, or can't do it, or struggle to sit still and like do a meditation exercise?
Yeah. So my business partner, Heather, will say she's always been most impressed with my success rate in getting people to meditate. So let me see if I can apply it here.
Wow.
The thing I think most people think when they think about meditation is that they're just going to sit down and they're going to have a blank mind and they're properly doing meditation only when that happens. And that couldn't
Hmm.
be further from the truth. When we
Hmm.
sit in meditation, the first thing that is happening is you're getting present to the noise in your mind. You're getting present to the monkey mind. We're running so fast that we're not even present to the three-ring circus in our minds until we go to bed, obviously. Then it pops up. But if you could just force yourself to sit there and just try to recognize you're not doing it wrong, you're getting present to the noise in your mind, and then use a guide to distract you from the monkey mind and allow that guide to walk you through a breathing exercise or something. Just know you can't do it wrong. And the only way you can silence the noise in your mind is by the consistency in doing it every day. So now,
Mm.
don't sit down and try to do a 20-minute meditation. The reason why I think we are so successful with our work is we're challenging people to do like Deepak Chopra's 3-minute meditation on YouTube. It's 3 minutes. It's
Hmm.
literally 3 minutes. Try that, see how that feels, and do it again and do it again. And once you do it, you're going to start to realize the volume of the noise in your mind is going to turn down.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the first time I'm hearing of this meditation. So I'm going to have to get the link from you. So maybe I can include it in those show notes for people.
Mhm.
Um, okay. So back to burnout again. What is a misconception about burnout that you think more people need to understand?
Is that you have to hit burnout to build resilience. You don't. You don't have to hit rock bottom. You don't have to hit burnout in order for you to build that resilience. Like you can build resilience every single day through your practices and your mindset. And that can set you up to not be as vulnerable for burnout. You'll be able to ebb and flow with what comes at you. So don't think that you have to hit rock bottom, in
Hmm.
order to climb your way back and build this badge of resilience. Like, no, like start doing things today for yourself, now for yourself to help yourself. And you won't have to hit it. You'll definitely, take better care of yourself and you'll start to feel better.
So it is possible to prevent burnout completely, you would say?
I believe so, for sure. I've had people on the verge of burnout wanting to quit their job, and within, you know, 2 to 3 sessions, they're recalibrating themselves. They're taking better care of themselves. Therefore, they're feeling better. They're having more energy. Therefore, their
Hmm.
mindset's different. Like these things all tie in together.
Very interesting. Yeah. That's cool because I think I personally have experienced burnout and I only have about 5.5 years post grad professional experience so far.
Girl, yeah, we have to make, here's the thing, we have to make our self-care a non-negotiable. And I don't want to throw around the word self-care. We have to make our structures. We have to make our, like, if you think about the most successful business people in the world, mostly older, they have routines that they do not deviate from because they know if they want to show up as sharp and continue this level of success that they have to have those things in place, those boundaries, those non-negotiables. Like we have to create non-negotiables.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I did start to make my self care and structures non negotiable a couple years ago. I would say maybe 2 or so years ago when I found myself in a really low place and
Mhm.
I was depressed and I needed to build structure like a morning routine, a night routine, and implement like meditation daily, daily, therapy, etc to improve my mental health and my overall well-being at the time, and I realized how powerful those practices and that structure is. Now it's interesting because I have that in place, but as I'm transitioning between a corporate 9 to 5 job and this full-time entrepreneurship life, I am struggling a little bit with the work hours looks different, and sometimes I'll work on the weekends and sometimes I work evenings and take a break midday. It's not a 9 to 5 40-hour work week, and I am reflecting and I'm feeling like high stress in this period of transition. Like I am a solopreneur at this point, everything is me, and if I don't produce, like nothing happens and no money will flow in, etc. And so as I'm stressing myself out, I'm also trying to reflect and say to myself, Lauren, you took steps to be able to take this leap and be stable and support yourself for a year that you're giving yourself. And you don't need to rush into everything. And it is important to keep your social plans, stay active, go to the gym, take breaks, etc. So it's kind of like I need to recalibrate my non negotiables and my structure because it ebbs and flows now.
The other thing I love that. The other thing I learned when I became an entrepreneur, a solopreneur before I got my business partner, um, was when I had structure in my personal life, it spilled over into my professional life and resulted in positive results. So we mirror what we do for our personal life will always like there's this saying, the way you do one area of life, you do every area of your life. So if you sort of like if you cheat a little bit on your personal life, like there you have a tendency to bring that into your professional life. The moment I started training for high rocks and I started really knuckling down and like really being super disciplined with my fitness and my health, things started to change in my business. Like it that discipline just spills over. So it's such a cool thing to realize. It's like that's what's at stake. It's not just a nice to do. It's like, no, no, no. I'm signaling to the universe I can have discipline with myself. I feel better. Therefore, that same discipline I'm going to have in my business.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I'm thinking like if I set a goal to go to the gym for like an hour a day or an hour 3 times a week, I put it on my calendar now, my Google Calendar, and I have to treat it like an important meeting because I think we've been trained to treat work or to prioritize work above like everything else. And if you are spending time with your kids or spending time with your friends or going to work out or take a yoga class or dance or take a walk or whatever, it's not as important. So it often, like sometimes if you get too busy, goes by the wayside. And yesterday, I just did this. I put an hour on my calendar and I was like, I have a really important meeting. I was going to actually test out this recording studio virtually with my mom, who was gracious enough to test with me. And she gave me an open window of time that she was free last night. And I said, you know what? I want to hit the gym before it gets busy. I know I want to do this upper body workout. And then I got to come home and make dinner for myself and eat dinner. And only then will I be ready to do the work thing. And so I was able to prioritize that. And it ended up by the time I did all that, it was too late. And I was like, do you have availability this morning? So today. And she was like, yeah, we can test it today. So I pushed that, but I was less stressed last night.
Yeah. Yeah. And you filled your cup. I mean, that's so important. I think,
Yeah.
there are times that demand we be flexible and do the work thing. And it's just the habit we get into to give and give and give until we're depleted. And then the flag is up that you have to do something. Like, I'm just trying to suggest you be a little bit more disciplined and create those non-negotiables, and how they happen you could be fluid with, but making them a priority to happen should be the non-negotiable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does require rewiring of the
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
So I do have one more question I'm going to ask you, and it might be a two-parter actually, but I want
Okay.
to touch back on. So we talked about what advice do you have to give people who might be hesitant about meditation or who don't think it works for them?
Mhm.
And in your bio, when I was reading this online, it says that people who used to roll their eyes at mindfulness now use your techniques every day, which I really loved that part of your bio.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in what are some of the most effective mindfulness techniques you teach aside from meditation?
So going back to answering your first question, with the meditation, start small. Do the 3-minute meditation, see how you
Mhm.
feel, and then decide if you want to take it on, and know you can't do it wrong. Right? I think we all have this preconceived notion that we're going to have a blank mind. You're not. You're just getting present to the noise. So you can't
Mhm.
do it wrong, and start small and build from there. Um, when we talk about, see, like, I hate this whole mindfulness. It's such a sleepy term and people do roll their eyes to it. But like, I think the reason why we are so effective is we're really looking at the whole person and what they're doing and how they're thinking. How you view stress and adversity impacts your day-to-day experience. Like, how you view that is everything. So
Mm.
it's shifting your mindset around it. Like, this is going to happen. And it's just refining me and challenging me and calling me to realize my resilience, like calling me to say, look at my capacity to handle this crazy situation, and I'm going to handle it because that's how I do things. That's how I do life. I handle things powerfully. That is so important. So it's like twofold. When we're talking about mindfulness and techniques every day, it's constantly being in the self-awareness and checking in with yourself. How am I looking at things? Do I have that, I call it itty bitty shitty committee in my mind,
I
right?
like that.
That's painting this picture of woe is me, or am I learning to hear it and suspend it so I can experience challenge newly and not have this already listening of anything that doesn't go my way? Life is not going to go our way. Challenges are going to show up. So isn't it in our best interest to understand how we're looking at that and maybe reposition it so that we don't look at it as we're the victim? Because that's going to create our experience. So when you talk about mindfulness and techniques, it's constantly being more and more self-aware. And how do you do self-awareness? You're questioning how you think, you're questioning your belief system, you're connecting to yourself more than the external world. That's what meditation is for too. If you want to be present with people in your life you love, try just being present with yourself and turning
Mhm.
off the external noise. That's the other beautiful aspect of meditation. You're tuning off all this noise that's getting in the way of you connecting and knowing yourself. So, really knowing yourself, it's a journey, but we always have to be on it if we want to be a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think you answered the second part of that question, which was going to be how do you make these techniques accessible to people who may be resistant? And I guess I'm wondering when you say mindfulness is a sleepy word and people roll their eyes at it, is there a different term besides mindfulness that you use?
No, I mean, I think when I think of mindfulness, I think of like sitting in the lotus pose and doing yoga, or, meditating with a group of people. Like mindfulness, in my opinion, is really like connecting to self, right? And having those things that you do to tune out the external world and tune into yourself.
Hmm.
We forget what we want, what we need, what matters to us when we're listening too much externally to ourselves. We have all the answers. That's the other thing. Like we have all the answers that we need within us. Um, yeah. When you say make these techniques accessible to people that might be resistant, I want to just say this. Ask
Hmm.
yourself on a scale from 1 to 5, what's your energy? And ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 5, what's your stress? And if your energy is below a 4, you have to start looking at what you could do differently to get that energy where you want it. And if your stress is higher than a 2, you have to ask yourself, what do I know to do to help me mitigate stress? Because that stuff's always coming at me and I need to be better prepared to handle it.
Very interesting. Well, thank you so much. This was a really eye-opening, really beneficial conversation that we got to have today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and to give your advice and talk about your perspective and your experiences.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
And if people want to find you or your work, let's say your book, your website, social media, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah. So I my second home is LinkedIn. So Michelle E. Dickinson, you can find me there. And then our website, resilienceasalifestyle.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you found it inspiring and helpful to you and learned techniques that you could apply to your own life. As always, if you have any ideas for new episodes or guests, let me know. Feel free to reach out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out as well. You can find me on Instagram at thenakedtruth.pod, and you can also email me at thenakedtruthpod0 at gmail.com. Catch you on the next episode.